Okay, so the social contract theory of morality is a way to escape, right, the state of nature. So the state of nature can be escaped by creating a social contract with the teeth to enforce the contract. So basically you'll have punishments, right, proportionate hopefully to the crimes, this kind of stuff, but if you don't follow the rules, right, you're going to wish you had kind of set up, right, so you have agreement, and then you have rules for what happens when the rules are broken and how you would make sure people then follow the contract. Right. So you get people to get together, right, and they create an agreement which draws up the rules for living together, right? And this contract provisions are made for the enforce the contract through courts, police, and methods of punishment. We've talked about that. Right now, in return for joining the contract, each individual is then protected by the contract. In this manner, right, one can cooperate without too much fear of being swindled, which is the real concern about, once again, how we protect the fruits of industry. Why would anybody do anything if there are chances of them, right, losing their efforts and having them confiscated, right, by bandits or whatever, right? It's hard to see, right, the way through that. So the difficulty can be mitigated, right, and eventually solved by creating these contracts. And we see, right, a number of examples of this throughout history, right? You'd have miners in the Old West, right, would band together, right, and create a set of rules, a short set of rules. Even pirates would do this in the Caribbean, right? The brigands down there, they would create a small rules for profit sharing, who gets what, right? The captain would sometimes get, right, a bigger, twice as many shares as an ordinary pirate, right? This kind of things. But you'll find people getting together, right? The American colonies, another great example of this, right? They get together and create the American Constitution, right, in a way to deal with the threats from Britain. So you'll have these contracts created, right, and they provide, right, protection against, right, the theme here in The Treasure of Sierra Madres, which is a great movie, by the way, Humphrey Bogart movie, right, where there's a great scene in there about they're miners, they've been digging out gold, and they have individuals that come to try to take their gold, right, and that's where we don't need no badges comes from. They're not part of the government. They're going to take the results of your industry, which is a great discouragement. And if everybody that goes out gets stolen from, why would anybody go out and gather gold? And as a result, we wouldn't have any gold for sale in the stores, right? So necessary to create a set of rules, right, in order to escape from the state of nature and allow for a productive activity to continue and be the norm, right, for human society. Now, so we have these contracts, and like the problem with the American Constitution is when it's originally put together, it covers, right, just landed white males, right? It doesn't enfranchise, right, the rest of the population. And we see over time that the contract is then modified to include, right, women voters, right, and the civil rights movement, and all these kind of things are modifications to a contract to improve it. So these things can be improved over time, but the justification argument for them will start changing. We'll see that as we move through this. So John Rawls, in his book, A Theory of Justice, published back in 1972, comes up with an idea about how we might go about constructing an ideal contract. And he calls this the veil of ignorance, right? So we got people, we're going to take away their characteristics of which we kind of define ourselves, how we identify ourselves. So no one be aware of their economic status, whether you're rich or poor, no idea. What sex they are, male or female, no idea. Transgender, no idea. Your sexual orientations, you wouldn't know any of this. Their age, right? So you can't have ageism, or you wouldn't have ageism, it's thought. Their mental and physical capacities, etc. So you take individuals and they're denied, shall we say, this information. And the question then becomes, what kind of contract would these individuals behind this veil of ignorance construct, right? And this is where John Rawls, I think, has some really good ideas here, folks. Because you're taking one of the problems, right, with the social contract theory of morals is that the primary argument for getting into the contract is self-interest, right? Now we're kind of trying to take this, right, into a more enlightened form of self-interest by doing this exercise of imagining ourselves without knowing these things, right? So it's a very good suggestion. Of course, it's very famous for this, right? Because it has a chance of creating a very, very fair contract, right? Even if individuals, when the contract wasn't originally constructed, weren't empowered in any way, right? We're still, right, terribly disadvantaged. We can then, right, bring them in later to make sure everybody's covered by this. And one of the interesting consequences of the contract theory of morals is if you're not covered by the contract, then you have no obligations either way to do anything ethically, right? So civil disobedience, if you're not covered by the contract, is fully justified. Right. Now, this is the real difficulty for the contract theory of morals, is that fundamentally the argument is always based on self-interest, right? Right. The reason for entering the contract is escape the state of nature, and the reason for adhering to it is avoid punishment. So you're doing this all for getting advantage for yourself. And so the problem arises what's called the free rider, somebody who can break the contract, break the rules, and get away from it and not get caught, right? So if the whole reason for adhering to the contract is self-interest, and I can now, right, because of the heights of power, whatever other reason, I can now break the contract and enrich myself, or nobody the wiser, why would I not do that? If morality is simply a function of self-interest, we have this difficulty. And this is where Plato comes in and is so useful. This is jumping back in time now, right, to 2,000 years before Hobbes, right, when Plato takes this question on directly, the very beginning of his book, The Republic, right, and here he's talking about what's called the myth of Gyges' ring. Now, Gyges is a shepherd on the hills of Lydia, which is modern-day Turkey at the time. It's one of the wealthiest, right, countries in the world, and he's tending sheep on the hills, right. And while he's tending these sheep, an earthquake hits, right, and opens a chasm. He goes down the chasm. In it, he finds a magic ring. He comes back out. Earthquake closes the chasm. And it turns out that when he turns the ring a certain way, he goes invisible. So he has effectively, right, a ring of invisibility. He then uses this ring to get the other shepherds to allow him to take the report of the flocks every year to the king. So he goes to the capital city, where he uses the ring of invisibility to, right, seduce the queen and then murder the king and become king of Lydia, which is one of the wealthiest countries, or the wealthiest country in the world for the Greeks, the ancient Greeks at that time. So why not do this, right? If it's all about self-interest, right? Because Gyges can break the rules and other people still have to follow them. Because he has a ring of invisibility, because he can, shall we say, avoid being detected, he can do things that other people could not. Right, and thus self-interest, if that's the sole reason for behaving, would allow him to go on and behave in this inappropriate fashion, right? Whereas, right, Plato's going to supply in his book 9 an answer to one of the answers he gives, right, to this very question.